Oh my gosh. Whew. The energy today is so real, you guys, but I'm really excited about this episode. We literally came up with a topic for this 3 minutes ago. So I hope you guys can realize, if you guys have been listening to the podcast for a while, how not scripted it is. Literally today I decided not to do my hair because I was like, I really want to show the people that we are spontaneous. But the reason we're doing this episode is it's kind of a part two to an episode we did a couple weeks ago, where I was talking about like launching a business and scaling your business, you know, the first couple months, first couple years, whatever it is. I got a lot of positive feedback from that episode. So it's not that I'm a people pleaser that I have to do a second part to that episode because you guys liked it, but I wanted to give like a different perspective, which is more the perspective of where I'm at now, like looking back and what I'm experiencing now in scaling. Because here's the thing that I want to be very honest about. People say all the time that scaling a business, the beginning part of scaling a business is the easiest, but it's also the hardest. It's the hardest because there's so many things you could do in the beginning that you kind of are starting with like a clean slate. And I think when you don't have that foundation out, like literally think of like a painting, you don't have like the outline of the pencil to follow in, right? Like it's very overwhelming to draw it for the first time, to literally put things on paper and create the business. However, I'm at the point now where the painting is basically done. So if you're like, okay, I literally have this amazing business, a 6-figure a month, 7-figure plus, multiple 7-figure a year business, what the fuck do I do now? Now, I need to be very transparent that my understanding is that a lot of you guys are not at necessarily the point I'm at now. However, if you are in a position of scaling right now, maybe you have a really solid offer that's selling out pretty consistently, or you are, marketing and you're like, I get a pretty good amount of leads. I just want more. Like you're literally in your business where you're like, I want more clients, I want more money, I want more this, but like everything's good. Where do I go from there? I'm speaking to you bitches today. Because I really just want to be very transparent about the stage of business I'm in, because it's, in my opinion, the easiest and the hardest, but it's not hard from a business standpoint necessarily. I'm very lucky that a lot of the business gaps, like, clients hating you or not paying or any of that kind of stuff, like we really haven't experienced that. So knock on wood there. I should probably have not said that, but I do want to talk about how difficult it is to know how to refine in the most micro way without a lot of like exciting progression. So I want to give an example. When you are newer in business, like when you are literally starting off, you're like trying to scale, get your business to like 6 or multiple 6 figures, you can literally get massive clarity in your marketing and shift like 2 or 3 things and completely change your life in like a week. Now, can that happen at a higher level? Absolutely. But identifying what that is becomes more complex. When I talk about like beginning of business, I literally talk about the same things: identity, authority, conversion, delivery. If you guys look at our 6-part framework, when a client's really new, we don't go into optimization a ton because that gets into systems, complexity. We like to keep that very lean. And the innovation piece comes when you're really evaluating your business in totality and kind of going back through the process of amplifying it, taking it to like the next level. So if you literally think about our framework, if it was like listed out right here, when the innovation piece comes, it's thinking like, all right, what's the next level vision? And you basically go through the 6 steps again. That's the innovation component of our framework. And so, because that's what I believe, I think innovative businesses are not necessarily doing something new, they're doing something better. So me and my business, I am in a very innovative stage. I literally have a very clear, strong identity of who I work with. Like I know who I support, how I do it. Our framework is fantastic. It supports all of our clients. Amazing. Our authority, our marketing process is really good. I have 3 or 4 mentors in my corner right now. And 90% of the time, I don't really have a lot of feedback for your marketing. It's really good. Our sales process is dialed down. Our retention rate is extremely high. Sales is just a strong point for me. And then our offers, I'm like 10 out of 10. And then systems, we've been refining and stuff. So I'm like, outside of systems, how the fuck do I scale, right? Like really, truly. And what's funny about this stage of business is it's the hardest to coach and it's the hardest to navigate, because the thing that you guys always want to do, I hear it every fucking day, is, well, maybe I just need to do this now or this now. And you take this really perfectly curated painting, this perfectly curated business, and instead of saying like, all right, let me like add a little bit of like, darker brown to the eyebrow, you fucking take a red paintbrush and you literally wipe it. And then you're like, my business is a mess. And I'm like, well, no fucking shit, Sherlock. Like, you literally, instead of saying, okay, what's missing? How can I look and make small changes? You're so in this place of desiring so much massive change and growth that instead of saying like, what can I do that will make a lot of impact that's very small, and being okay with that and letting it just kind of sit for a second, we immediately go into like destruction. We spiral, we question ourselves. And this is why it's a hard place to coach from, because a lot of what I do when a client's at this point where their business is really good is not as needle moving sometimes as quickly as some of the other things. Now, sometimes it is, but I'm going to be very honest with you. If a client comes to me at 6 figures, taking them to 7 is much easier to me than taking a client from like 500, 600, 7K to like 2 million. Like that's like a totally different thing. Or taking a client from like their first 5 to 10K month to their first 6 figures. Literally, I can do it in a couple weeks, couple months. Like, I got that down. But then when you really start to like change things up, or when the client's like, I'm at crushing at 6 figures, there's always these like moving parts that just become more complex, but also extremely simple when you like kind of look back at it. And that's what I find very hard about this place in business. So anyway, let me just talk through this a little bit, because I want to talk about where we're at in business. Right now, it is November of 2024. I feel like I'm like, what is that thing? It's like Billie Eilish, and she's like, it's November 3rd, 2024. And then a year later, whatever, I literally feel like I'm like recording myself like Billie fucking Eilish right now. Anyway, poor Billie Eilish that I compared myself to her. But when I think about my business right now, we have made a lot of pivots this year. And now I'm looking at 2025, and the hardest thing that I have to realize is that next year has nothing to do with any addition. I'm probably going to keep the same marketing channels. I'm going to keep our sales process the same. Our offerings are not going to change. So if the key 3 ingredients of a scaling business, which is usually marketing, sales, and offerings, if those are all going to be the same, how the fuck do we grow? Now, what's good is that I have the answer to this. Thank freaking Lord Almighty that I have the answer to this. But also, the answer is not exciting. Like, if you are a client of mine right now and we're talking and you're like, my business is amazing, I'm crushing it, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not going to say something to you that's life-changing. And again, that's hard as a coach, because I want my clients to leave a session with me. I just had 2 kickoff calls today where the person's like, oh my God, like that changed my life in like a matter of an hour. They're in a stage of business where I can change their life in a matter of an hour. But when you get to this place in business, you know the information, you know your marketing's pretty good. It's usually going back and refining and filling in gaps that are sometimes this small. But I literally want you guys to think about how different sometimes one small change can make, but at the time you don't necessarily feel excited about it because it doesn't feel like life altering, right? But sometimes, like I was thinking about my friend group actually, like going to a real world example. My friend group last year was like 6 core women, and one of those women is no longer there. And what's crazy is I didn't want that person to leave. It just worked out that way. But a year ago, I was like, everything's amazing, everything's great. But this one person leaving has changed my entire energy around my friends. I'm so much more safe than I used to be. Like, everything switched. But that was such a small, it was massive, but it was also like a very small change. Like, everything else stayed the exact same. Who I was, the way that my friends were, interacting, our, dating pool, like everything fucking stayed the same, except for this one change. And everything has shifted because of this one change. I literally, even just the way I feel about, my relationships and what's important to me, like I've had so much change from this one small shift. And in business, you literally can double your business from a change that's this small. However, identifying what that is and being okay with that and letting yourself sit in that versus saying like, I'm going to take the red paint and splatter it all over the fucking Picasso, like that is really hard. And so the mental game of 80K, 100K, 120, 200K a month, the mental game of that is so much harder than people talk about. So I want to talk about that a little bit, of where we're going next year and what I'm doing to kind of regulate myself, and also like what we will be shifting that you guys can see, so that when next year we're like, we've doubled our business and you're like, what the fuck has shifted? You guys can have that. And the other reason I wanted to do this episode, very transparently, I get annoyed by people very quickly on the internet who make like dumb assumptions or who say things that I'm like, what are you talking about? the other day I did like one of those anonymous questions on Instagram, and someone asked me the price of my signature program. And we don't typically talk about the price online, not because I don't want to be transparent, but because every one of my clients right now has a special payment plan. We don't do like, you have to pay 5K or 5 payments of 1K. I just don't like that. I honestly think, clients can really determine that. And most of my clients pay very quickly and they do bigger installments than typical and whatever. But I have clients who will do like the first 3 months at a lower rate and then the second 2 at like massive rate. Like I don't care about any of that. I'm very flexible on that. I hope that I always am, when I don't get bit in the ass for that. But the reason I'm saying that is they asked me the price and then I said it, or I said the amount. And then the next comment, I'm assuming was from the same person. They go, there's no way you can do 2.5 million from your current offer suite. And I was like, first of all, you fucking idiot. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard, because I could have, let's say my offer was 10K. I could literally have 100 people in there and that's $1 million. So if I wanted to make 2.5, I just need 250 people in it. So what do you mean I can't? Like, of course. Also, I have master classes on my website. I could sell, even though they're $97, I don't know the math of that, 8 bajillion of them and make 2.5 million. Like, so there is no like, you can only make X amount from your offer suite. Now, is my capacity or the way I want the offer meaning that I would be okay with having 250 people in it? No. So that's actually correct. But at the same time, I found it such a stupid, annoying comment that someone who I think just really can't understand how intentional small shifts in your business are, like could make a comment like that and be like, there's no way you can get there. When I'm like, I literally could get there next year and I will get there next year because of my capacity, because of our price points, because of all these pieces, and because of our retention. And I had this like annoyance at first, and then I had this like deep understanding of the question, and then I had this like, no, I'm still annoyed again. I went through a lot of weird spiraling moments because of that question, because it made me realize like how silly it is to assume what can happen within a business based on like what's the forefront of the business. Like same with marketing, how many people like lie in marketing. It's like really insane to me. I have people who I've literally called out. In fact, I had a client a couple weeks ago and I called her out and I basically was like, you are not willing to make investments that are the same price point as what you want to charge people. You will like nitpick people's price points, but like you want to charge 5 times that and you're trying to. And also like you lie about your marketing and your sales. And I don't think that's very high integrity. And like I got rid of the client because of that. So there's so many things in that. But anyway, I saw this comment and I was thinking about it and I'm like, yeah, okay, I have 3 offers, but also there's so much that I can do with these offers to make them more scalable, to make them more intentional. So I want to talk about that a little bit. Right now in our business, we have 3 signature offers. We market on Instagram and TikTok, and our sales process pretty much conversations with me. So when I look at our business, I don't want any of those elements to change. So the question becomes in those 3 key buckets with offerings. How can we make more money with the offerings without losing the integrity of the offering? And when I mean losing the integrity, what I mean there is, how can we make sure that the customized support that my clients get, the level of depth that I go with the clients, the connection that they have, all those pieces are not lost because we have so many people in there that basically people can't get what they're needing, right? Now, I just joined a week ago. I joined a mastermind energy year-long thing. I've been thinking about it and I was like, you know what? It's not crazy expensive. And I can immediately tell you, I will not do anything similar to what this person is doing. I hate it. Now, am I regretting the decision a week in? I have 11 more payments of this program. No, but I do not like the way that the offering is. The integrity of the offer feels not aligned for me. And it has given me massive clarity in literally just a week that I don't want to go massive amounts of people in my mastermind. Now, does that mean that my mastermind is only going to be 5 or 10 people? No, because I believe that there is a perfect amount of people in it. So I have to then kind of figure out what that is. Right now, the size that it is very good. So if I want to scale that offering, then that like leaves me with the switch of price point. Do I want to increase the price point? Do I want to have a VIP upgrade option so I can have the same amount of clients, but some of them get some more access to me? Do I want to, scrap some of the deliverables so that I have more time? Like, what does that look like? That's like my gap in the offer, right? Now we go to marketing. I don't want to be someone who markets 24/7 in my business. I'm very honest about the fact that I don't spend a lot of time marketing. I spend between an hour to an hour and a half a week. So that's like 4 to 6 hours a month. And we are consistently seeing, 3 or 4 high ticket clients signing every single week. We're getting some passive sales. Our retention rate's through the roof. So about half of our sales every month are literally from clients re-signing, which makes my life extremely easy. Thank God our retention rate's good. So it's like, okay, what do I want to change about the marketing? So one of the things that I was thinking about is, okay, if I kept everything the same, what's the easiest shift that I can make in order to basically keep the other pieces from basically like completely falling off? Like if you think about like waves, when someone like pushes something and then the waves like kind of ripple effect, I want to keep the wave as small as possible. So whatever thing I bring in, I want everything to stay really, really steady. So for me, I'm like, that's visibility. So when I was thinking about that, I was like, okay, is that just pushing more TikTok? Or is that another visibility platform that I can think about? So for me, that became podcast, which we've technically already integrated. Now, here's the thing about our podcast is my podcast is called Full Plate of Pasta, not By the Blazer, the podcast. So I have to also understand that there is going to be some type of gap there. But have we signed clients from the podcast already? Yes. So now my thing is, how can I make the podcast better? And how can I, since it's already in place, how can I integrate podcast content into By the Blazer marketing to bring people from the podcast to By the Blazer? That's like step number 1. That's like layer number 1. So that's the marketing piece. And then the sales piece, one of my biggest hurdles is that right now, no one does high ticket sales in my business besides me, which means that if I was out for a month, I have no one to sell a client into DBM, private, or in VIP audits. There is no buy button. There is none of that. So these are some of the questions that I'm asking myself is, do I make it that people can just sign into DBM immediately? And when that was my first thought, my second thought was, I want to be able to vet the client. And also I want clients to be able to be transparent about what payment plans they need. So if there's just a buy button, they can't do that manually. So that became an issue. And then when I thought about, okay, well, what else can we do to sign high ticket clients? I thought about the re-sign process. And I thought, well, if clients want to re-sign, could we create some type of automated process within our business that when a client's at a 3 or 4 month mark, we give them that opportunity to re-sign. They can notify Lexi, and Lexi can create the contract, everything else. So at least we're getting our re-signs in, even if we're not bringing in new clients, which is still bringing the business forward. And I was like, that makes sense to me. So then it was like, that was the gap. The other piece is, can we increase our mini chat process? I don't like mini chat very much, but for our $97 offers, I love it. So if I could make our marketing drive in high ticket buyers, and we have like a taster menu of low ticket that also will drive up high ticket buyers, the sales process will be quicker, which means it's easier for me to manage. So that also attacks the first issue. And then the second issue is that if I am now getting more low ticket sales, even if I'm not signing high ticket clients that are new, I'm still funneling them into low ticket offers. Potentially we could automate some of the buying process there if they're like ready to go. And then on top of that, Lexi can oversee the re-sign process. Now I'm literally looking at my business and I was like, those are all very micro changes. They're not very big, but that's our plan to double our business next year. Like, it's so crazy for me to say that, but I'm not changing my offers. I'm not changing my marketing. I'm not changing my sales process very significantly. It's literally all behind the scenes things that person who made that comment being like, at the forefront of your business, I can't see it. Because every change that I just mentioned is kind of on the back end. You're not going to really see it. Now, in case you're inquiring about an offer, you might see a mini chat change, or you might see like a workflow change. But unless you're an active client, you're actually not going to see a single change to the forefront of our business in 2025. And I know this is kind of more of like a rant episode that I'm just kind of talking through, but I wanted to share that because I have so many people right now that are telling me, like, I feel like everything's working, but I also feel more lost than ever. I don't know if that's you. I literally want to be like, is that anyone? Like, raise your hand. And it happens because massive momentum at a stage of business where you already have a strong foundation does not come from massive shifts. Massive momentum comes from small intentional refinement and being able to audit the moving pieces of your business and just take them up a notch. Like literally, I want you to think about the simple, silly quote that I always talk about of, if you just are 1% better every single day, like how much better are you at the end of the year? That's insane. 365%, right? I actually don't know if that's like the true math, but you guys get the idea. It's literally the small increments that make things better. If I can increase our retention rate by X%, that's potentially $50,000 next year. If I can increase the conversion rate in mini chat by 10 or 15%, that's another $20,000, $30,000 next year. If I can, it's like literally these small things. If I can increase the price point by 5 or 10%, what is that? Like I literally just went through and I was like, what can I literally refine to elevate what's existing with no additional work? Like really like very little work. And that's the other thing that's really hard about this is, when you're in business and you want a lot of change, your automatic brain tells you, I want more to happen. I have to work more. I have to work harder. And I'm going to tell you right now that you better believe that my ass is going to be, hopefully, at the gym or doing something for myself every Friday all of next year. Unless I have a VIP day client, an audit client coming in, my ass is going to be not working on Fridays. My ass is also only be working 3 to 4 hours on Mondays. And my call list, we are cutting in half. And we will double our business next year. And I'm not saying this to be like, it's so easy, it's so simple. It's really hard. My job is harder now than it was at the beginning of my business. It's harder. I make more money and my job is harder. It's also like not as fun to say like, oh my God, I completely am launching this new offer. I'm going to do this and I'm going to have this launch. That's fun in the beginning of the business. Looking to increase retention by 5% is not fun. It's amazing and the value add is fun, but it's fucking hard. So I wanted to make this episode for my clients or non-clients. Maybe you're just listening saying like, am just watching you from afar. Maybe you don't even have a business. You just find this content really interesting. But I'm speaking to the people who are sitting there saying, I have to do something different, when I actually want to tell you, like, you need just to do something better. You probably have things in your business right now that aren't working. Just get rid of them. You probably have processes in your business that could be a little bit better. You probably have clients that if you would have had a re-sign process that you talked to them at the 3-month mark instead of the 5-month mark, they would re-sign and your retention rate would be like 90% instead of 45% or whatever it is. We're missing the small things. Your business is missing the small things. And that is why, as a coach, this is a hard place to be, because I want to be able to be like, oh my God, do these 2 things and your business will double. But sometimes there's a lot of like weeding. It's like literally, it's like going to the gym every single day and not necessarily losing a pound for the first couple weeks. It's really, really hard. But when you can put in those reps, when you can do those small things every single day, at this level of business, we always talk about it for the newbies, put in the reps. The reps at this level are completely different, and it requires a different level of auditing and analysis and intentionality and just grit in your brain to realize that it's not going to be an exciting new marketing launch. It's not going to be a new offer necessarily, but the things that you're doing are going to lead to the long-term impact that you've been like desiring this whole time. So I hope that this is like maybe encouraging to a couple of you guys. I'm talking to a lot of incredible business owners right now, like incredible business owners who are like, I'm not coming to you because anything's wrong. Do I hire you? And it's a really fun sales conversation for me when I'm like, so we're not going to change a lot, but your business is going to look completely different in a year. And they're always like, I don't understand. And we walk through our processes and we talk through that. But I want to tell you that right now in my business, the thing that I'm most excited about is every single one of you bitches that doubt me in any way, shape, and form, which by the way, bring it on, it like is my favorite motivator. But if anyone that doubts me, my business is going to probably look, hopefully, dear God, I hope I don't pivot again in some way. We'll see. But very similar to all of you guys in a year. But what is going to happen on the back end, the small changes we're going to make, which I'll keep you guys up to date on as we make them through the podcast of just like giving you guys some insight. That's going to be an extremely exciting needle mover. And I obviously told you a little bit about what we're projecting, what we're predicting. Some of it may work, some of it may not. But that's going to be like the game changer for us. So if you're in that position in business, you want a partner there, you obviously know where to find me. But if just anything, I hope that this is encouraging to you that you can just exist. You can just be. You can just continuously move. You don't need to do anything. You don't need to launch anything. You don't need to learn TikTok this week. Like, you can just exist and your business can completely change in 1 year if you just lean in and keep just moving the needle forward versus trying to necessarily like literally start something from scratch. So I hope that this is helpful. I started this episode thinking, I was going to talk about one thing. I had a couple ideas of things that I think were really important to you guys. And I kept going back to that fucking comment where I was like, you know what? This is what we don't talk about in business, is how do you scale without doing the things that people tell you you need to scale. So I hope this is helpful. Please send me a message too if you guys are a business owner, you like the podcast. I know some of you guys will message me from every single one of my accounts. I have 85,000 emails and Instagram accounts at this point, but I hope this is helpful. Send me a message, let me know how it was, and I will talk to you guys next week.